Attendance, everybody is in attendance, all councillors. Before we start, I need to read out a statement. Ladies and gentlemen, please note this meeting is being audio live streamed and recorded on the Council's website in accordance with the Council's live streaming of Open Council meetings policy. The recording will be archived and made available on Council's website after the meeting. While care is taken to maintain your privacy while in attendance at the Council meeting, please note that your presence in the Council chambers and or your voice may be live streamed and recorded, including any statement made during public question time or consideration of planning matters. All speakers ought to refrain from making any defamatory comments or releasing personal information of another individual without their prior consent. Council accepts no liability for any damage that may result from defamatory comments, and all liability will rest with the individual making those comments. By remaining in the public gallery, you are deemed to consent to being live streamed and recorded. If any person attending the meeting does not agree to being live streamed or recorded, you may choose to leave the meeting. Thank you. Total of contents. As is, although one item has been removed, 5.5.1. Acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge it. Excuse me, councillors.
What was the one that was removed?
5.5.1.
What is it?
Yes. Thank you, Mayor.
Acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge and pay our respects to the Tasmanian Aboriginal community as the traditional and original owners and ongoing custodians of this land on which we gather today, and acknowledge elders past, present and emerging. Declarations of interest from any councillors? Okay, I want to declare 5.4, Councillor Terrett's questions on notice. Confirmation of council meeting minutes. Now, before I have any recommendations moved, I'd like to read out a statement and then you consider which recommendations you wish to move. Regulation 8.5 of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulations 2015 prohibits discussion of any matter that is not listed on the agenda unless Regulation 8.6 is satisfied, which it was not. Regulation 8.6 of this Act states that a council by absolute majority at an ordinary council meeting may decide to deal with a matter that is not on the agenda if A, the General Manager has reported the reason it was not possible to include the matter on the agenda, and B, the General Manager has reported that the matter is urgent, and C, in a case where a matter requires the advice of a qualified person, the General Manager has certified under Section 65 of the Act that the advice has been obtained and taken into account in providing the general advice to the Council. None of the above occurred at the meeting on the 17th of March 2025. Council needs to understand that not only does Regulation 8 prohibit decisions on or motions, but also discussions of matters not listed on an agenda. Regulation 8.5 states that a matter may only be discussed at a meeting if it is specifically listed on the agenda of that meeting. Based on this, it is clear that not only was the motion and the decision beyond the legislative power of the elected members, but so was the discussion regarding the matter. I'd like to remind all councillors that at our ordinary meeting on the 17th of February 2025, I'd like to read that again. I'd like to remind all councillors that at our ordinary meeting on the 17th of February 2025, we passed a motion to endorse the newly developed Northern Midlands Council Consolidated Meeting Procedures, which included the provision that a matter may only be discussed at a meeting if it is specifically listed on the agenda of that meeting. Should councillors still feel that this qualified advice is incorrect, I believe that those concerned should request a review of the legislation by reaching out to the Office of Local Government. Thank you. Now we have some recommendations here that are suggested, but it's up to councillors what they wish to move. And this is about the confirmation of the minutes, the ordinary council meeting of 17th of March 2025. Councillor Lambert.
Yeah, I'd like to move recommendation 1, that the council review the recording of the open council minutes of the ordinary meeting, Northern Midlands Council, held at the council chambers, Longford, Monday 17th of March, in relation to item 9, public question time, Campbelltown Main Street development.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Terrett seconding.
And in moving that, I again move this. I believe I brought this to the council chambers before. I believe that to ensure that the written minutes reflect the audio recording as a true and accurate reflection of the meeting, specifically in relation to the Campbelltown streetscape, we need to look at or listen to both the recording and match the recording to the minutes. So I put this forward because we need to ensure that we uphold the legislation, particularly in relation to Regulation 32, which clearly states that the General Manager is to ensure that the minutes of a meeting accurately record the following matters. A, any matter discussed at the meeting. B, any decision made at the meeting. And E, any motion moved during the meeting. Now, this is reiterated in the consolidated meeting procedure document. The motion was moved, seconded, and it was discussed in an open council meeting. Regardless of whether it has been deemed beyond power, illegal, etc., the council was allowed, and they were given that opportunity to debate that and to vote on that motion. And so I believe its occurrence should actually be recorded, and I request that that should reflect in the minutes. I believe it's quite a simple matter of adhering to the legislation. It's a procedural matter, and it shouldn't be taking 3 meetings for us and all of this time to actually go down this path. Under section 33, section 3, audio recording of a meeting, it clearly states that if after the minutes of a meeting have been confirmed as a true record and a discrepancy between the minutes and the audio recording of that meeting or part of that meeting is noticed, the council at the next appropriate meeting is to review the audio recording and either confirm that the minutes are a true record or amend the minutes to reflect the audio recording and then confirm the minutes as amended to the true record. So we must remember that we are actually accountable to the ratepayers of the Northern Midlands here, to ensure that we act at all times in an open and transparent manner and that we are working as per the legislative requirements. The Act is very clear on our responsibilities in relation to the recording of minutes. Now, I understand that in the April agenda, item 8.18, there was an explanation as to why the item was not valid. However, nowhere in the legislation under section 32 and 33 does it say that motion should not be recorded. As I said before, the motion was moved, it was seconded, it was discussed in an open council, regardless of whether it was deemed procedurally improper, beyond power, illegal, etc. It should have been recorded in the minutes. I think as a council we have a moral and a procedural obligation to ensure that the meeting minutes of the 17th of March 2025 accurately reflect the will of the meeting for future community members to access and to gain a full understanding of the decisions made in relation to the streetscape project for Campbelltown. If the minutes are not accurately recorded, the community would be right in being perhaps confused, and I think confusion will inevitably occur if the council hasn't recorded this process taken by the council via this motion to conduct the community information session in relation to the streetscape project. There will be no record of that happening if we don't record it. So it'll be a little bit confusing if people go back into the future, and go, well, how do we get to this information session? There's no record of it. And I don't want to be a councillor who is perhaps looked at as not being open and transparent in this respect. So I believe it's in the public interest and council's best interest that the council rectify the minutes to accurately reflect the motion which was passed at the March meeting. So I'm not sure whether we're looking at a hierarchy now of clauses, whether one clause overrides another clause and that becomes a clause, but as far as I can see, the motion should be moved as per motion 32 and 33, any matter discussed, any decision made and any motion moved. I understand where the statement that Mayor's made, that they're saying it was illegally done, but the fact remains we were allowed to do it as a council. We were allowed to go through that process. We were allowed to put the motion. We put the motion. I believe there were four shadowed motions. There was a long process that we went through to get to that final motion, and it was voted on and it was passed. So as far as I'm concerned, I think we have an obligation in the public interest to have that recorded in our minutes accurately as per the audio recording should match the minutes, the written minutes.
Councillor Terry, you'll get the chance to speak second. I'd just like to remind councillors that the councillors chose themselves after a statement had been read by myself that I was given by the General Manager to read out. And then the General Manager read that same statement out to make it quite clear that we shouldn't have gone down that process. And I will openly admit I voted alongside that motion, but we should not have done that. Anyway, it's over now to the councillors. Councillor Terry.
I'd just like to thank Councillor Lambert for her comments. It is important, even if we disagree with things that come up through the minutes, that we have an accurate record of those minutes. And 8.5 may say that it's only discussions. Well, a discussion did take place. There were a number of procedural motions that took place. Whilst it was also raised during that debate that the 8.6 was to be appearing in the minutes. Now, whether that was in accordance with the regulation, it still needs to be recorded in the minutes. And I point back to the October 2024 meeting where we moved a motion of urgency following a public debate, moved it and put it into the minutes, and we actually actioned that. This was not the first time we've done that. And maybe this is a lesson learned for this council from that there is some things that we need to do. And I know as part of the review that took place that there was some training that's required. I won't go into too much of that, but it is, we have to have an accurate record. And if there is commentary that has come from the General Manager during that debate, then that should also appear in the minutes as well. But I wholeheartedly support Councillor Lambert's motion.
Madam Mayor, I'd just like to remind councillors they adopted those new meeting procedures because of those errors previously. That's why they now exist and are in place. Therefore, there's an expectation for council to abide by those meeting procedures, and that's it. That's why at that meeting back in March, the Mayor read out the exact sections of the regulations, and I also repeated them as well for your attention. And yet, council still elected to move forward. The recommendation, as is also being gained again through legal advice. So I can't add no more than that, and that will probably continue to be the legal advice. If council believes strongly that there should be a change in the legislation, there is an opportunity for councillors to bring forward a motion to write to the Minister to seek a meeting, or also to write directly seeking the changes to the legislation to allow that sort of debate to occur and then be registered in the minutes accordingly.
Councillor Archer.
Look, I want to stick to my legal position here as a councillor, and I have to follow the rules. I think the situation is that the result of that motion, which I did vote for, was a situation that some action was taken which has been beneficial to the community. I recommend number 3, basically that there was discussion, but as far as I'm concerned, the motion was illegal, and I will not be supporting any further action in regards to this. As I said, if people want to write to the Minister and get his opinion, I'm quite happy to take that, but at this stage I'm not supporting the motion.
Any further discussion? I'm going to put that motion. Councillor, sorry, I didn't see your hand. I didn't see your hand up. Sorry.
I'm sorry, I was just waiting for anybody else. I'll be supporting Councillor Lambert and Councillor Terror on this. I think that was said, that those words were said. There was the sentiment of the community, and I'm unsure why, legal or illegal, we would want to have a debate about something better that betters the community. So, to me, we might have to go and revisit and talk about the rules and regulations, because that could foreshadow a future situation where we have an emergency and we can't talk about it, which would be quite insane. So I'll be supporting Councillors Terrett and Lambert.
Councillor Brooks.
Yeah, I'll be supporting that motion as well, due to the fact that there was some urgency in that motion because the tenders were going to be going out, I think, that following week. So there was an urgency. Maybe if there wasn't such an urgency, well, we didn't need to go down that path. But in my opinion, there was an urgency, and I will be supporting that motion.
Councillor Andrews. Oh, you're right. Councillor Adams.
So yes, the issue, of course, of having an agenda and having a fixed process is so that everybody around the council table is treated equally and everybody can do their research and have their thoughts together. So when someone ambushes you and drops something on the agenda, that's why we have a legal position that says you can't do that. And that goes through every meeting that we all go to. Of course, there are emergencies. Well, the notices of motion, we have those procedures within our system to be able to bring things to the agenda. So I think that should be done. Now, we went down that there's been some extended information given about Campbelltown. People have had concerns. There's been extra information flow, I think, in the Campbelltown area, and I think some councillors have attended that. So I won't support the motion moved by Councillor Lambert.
Any further discussion? I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Aye. So those against are myself, Councillor Adams, Councillor Goss, Councillor Andrews and Councillor Archer. So the motion's lost. We, however, still need...
Could I foreshadow a motion?
Yes, you can pass and put another motion forward now.
I'd like to put the motion forward, recommendation 3.
I second that.
And Councillor Andrews is seconding. Recommendation 3. Councillor Archer, do you wish to speak to it?
Well, I think it's just self-explanatory. I think this explains pretty well that the issue occurred. But I said before, I have to follow my legal position here. We have the ability in the future to work around this issue. We have already done some work in regards to Campbelltown. I think we should just move on, accept that something will be recorded in the minutes, but the motion was actually not legal.
Councillor Andrews, you wish to speak?
I would probably agree that we've had an unfortunate situation where a discussion took place that we were later advised wasn't supposed to take place according to regulations. I agree with the sentiment around the table that even though that was judged illegal, there should be some mention in the minutes that that took place. The minutes need to reflect what happened in a meeting. But we can't talk in detail about this particular incident because of regulations. So I believe that recommendation 3 allows the minutes to reflect that there was a discussion that was later deemed illegal, but that discussion took place. So we're reflecting that that discussion took place. So I would support recommendation 3.
Any further discussion? Councillor Terrett.
I again would be objecting to this because there are a number of valid procedural motions that are actually moved, which won't be recorded in the minutes. Should this recommendation be passed, I will be requesting Council under Regulation 33(3) to review the minutes, the audio recording to correct the minutes.
Councillor Lambert.
I won't be voting for this either. I believe that we should be having accurate minutes, and I don't think this is reflecting the will of the meeting. And I agree with Councillor Terrett that we should be looking at Section 33 to review the audio recording.
Any further discussion, Councillor? Sorry,
what's the point of having an audio recording and having a section in our legislation that clearly says if we think there's a discrepancy, we need to have a listen to it to ensure that we've got it correct. Now, that is there in black and white, so that's what we should be doing.
Councillor McCullough.
Yeah, we talk about legal proceedings, and I'm with Councillor Lambert on this. We've had this situation before. We've had to go back to the minutes to get a reflective situation of what was actually said. And on that occasion, we pointed to the Act which said it's what was said in the Act, what was said at the table. So we've actually been pinpointed on that. It went through, it was all talked about, irrespective of whether it was right or wrong or illegal. It was actually talked about at the meeting. So I don't know why the general manager is choosing to want to make this point
Please,
further.
you'll still be respectful, please.
I'm totally respectful. I'm asking why the general manager wants to make a big song and dance over this.
That's not being respectful.
No more.
Councillor Archer, do you wish to sum up?
I'd just like to say, Councillor Adams mentioned that you've got to have structure in meetings. You can't have motions just coming out of nowhere. And even though, as Councillor Lambert says, that the meeting was recorded, just because it's recorded doesn't mean that everything said that meeting is legal or is in the minutes. And in this regard, a lot of what was said at that meeting does not, I believe, need to be in the minutes. We only want the things in the minutes which are legally meant to be in the minutes. But as Councillor Andrews says, it is mentioned here that the discussion occurred, and that's where we should leave.
Thank you. I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour? Aye. Against?
Aye.
Put your hands up against, please. Councillor Terrett, Councillor McCullough, Councillor Lambert and Councillor Brooks. The motion's carried.
I foreshadowed this motion had been passed, that a motion should go through in relation to Regulation 33.3, that council reviews the audio recording of that minute to correct the records of the meeting as a true and correct record.
second it.
Can I comment on this?
Yes, you can.
We actually did that. The legal advisors also saw that information and that's been provided. And the advice came back as council has just adopted. So we can go through that process again if you wish. I'll make you aware we have gone through that process and we sought legal advice on that matter.
So that foreshadowed motion shall be proceed.
It's up to council.
To council.
I'm just advising that we've already gone through that process. We sought legal advice and the legal advice is quite clear as what's just been adopted by council.
It's up to you. Do you wish to remove your foreshadowed motion? Pardon?
Wish to continue.
So make sure the wording's clear.
In accordance with Regulation 33.3.
Can I second the motion and then ask Councillor Terrett if we could also get a secondary opinion from a different solicitor?
Well, we let the motion get up first. Put it forward first.
33. Of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulation.
Oh, no, the whole motion needs to be said.
Oh.
You've just got there in accordance with the regulation.
In accordance with
Yep.
Regulation 33.3 of the Local Government Meeting Regulations, the council review the audio recording and correct the records of the meeting of the 17th of February,
March.
March, I should say, March, as a true and correct record of the meeting.
That's your motion.
Yes.
Councillor Lambert, are you still seconding?
Yes.
Yes, you did second. So we need to move this forward, discuss it and move this foreshadow motion, and then it will become a motion if it's achieved. So Councillor Terrett, do you wish to speak first?
Yes, I do. This is actually, if we're talking about what the regulations require, once the minutes have been adopted, which they have now, that if there is a dispute in relation to as a true and correct records, the regulation can request that the audio recording be reviewed, and that says that the council review the audio recording, not a lawyer or officer reviewing that recording, but the council review that to see if it's a true and correct record. Whilst I put this up in motion, this is a requirement of the local government meeting procedures, and regardless, it is a requirement of the regulations to do this. I think it is important, and I won't go over the same things that Councillor Lambert has been through before, but if we do an audio recording of the meeting, we should also make sure it's a true record of our meeting that's taken place. If there is a question about legality of the motions, then that's a matter for the lawyers. We have moved no procedural points of of order in relation to that motion when it was put through as a valid motion, and whether it was legal or not, that was a matter for others. Therefore, I move the motion.
As a seconder, do you wish to speak, Councillor Lambert?
Just to support the comments that Councillor Terrett has just said, and I think I spoke at length about it before, but just to reiterate that we need to have our audio recording and our minutes, our written minutes, they need to be a match. They can't be one or the other. It just leads to confusion, it leads to potentially people in the community thinking about, are we being open and transparent about what we're doing here? And I don't want that on our record, so I absolutely support this.
Councillor McCullough, you wish to speak?
Well, I'm just reading motion 16 of the Act, and it says if during the meeting a councillor intends to move a motion of which notice has not been given, the chairperson of the meeting may require the councillor to provide a written copy of the motion. The chairperson of the meeting is not to allow a motion to be voted or otherwise dealt with unless it has been moved by one councillor and seconded by another, which was done. So we can look at it as a motion without notice.
But it wasn't at the time. Councillor Goss.
Mayor, just about the motion up there. Is that for the whole meeting, or is that just for one part of the meeting, or is it part of the closed meeting and part of the open meeting? What part of the meeting are we talking about? Because with that motion up there, I'm not really quite sure what we're doing.
I'll ask the mover and seconder. Would you like to have a clarification?
Regulation doesn't clarify, but I think the area that's in dispute is the area that we would be listening to.
I didn't hear that.
The area that's in dispute of the
It
meeting.
needs to be clarified in a motion.
In relation to item 9, public question time, Campbelltown Main Street development?
Yeah.
Do we need to add that in for clarity?
I think that's, thank you.
Make sure it's okay with the mover and seconder. Was I? Okay. Yep. So mover and seconder are happy with that, of the foreshadowed motion. Any further discussion? Thank you, Councillor Goss.
Just make sure that we get it all up in item 9, public question time and can I please also make sure that we have the Campbelltown Main Street development clearly in there as well, so there's no confusion.
All right, I'm going to read that out just to make sure the mover and seconder are happy with that. In accordance with the Regulation 33(3) of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulations, that the Council review the audio recording in relation to item 9, public question time, Campbelltown Main Street development, and correct the records of the meeting, have to be meeting minutes of the 17th of March 2025 as a true and correct record of the meeting. Any further discussion? Councillor Andrews.
Yes, we can do this again, but we will still be where we are at the beginning of this discussion, that we're talking about something, an area of the minutes that was declared illegal. We weren't supposed to be doing it that way. We've sought legal advice, we've done that. We've sought legal advice, and that advice has come back that recommendation 3 is as far as we can go. So we can do this all over again, but the legal advice, we already have it. And the legal advice is that we act according to recommendation 3. So we're just repeating what's already been done.
Okay, I will put that foreshadowed motion. All those in favour? Aye. Those against? Aye. Put your hands up, please. Against. Myself, Councillor Adams, Councillor Goss, Councillor Andrews and Councillor Archer. The motion's lost. So that goes no further.
Just point of order in relation to that.
All right, hang on, there's a point. Excuse me, people in the gallery, please, you can't speak at the moment, sorry. There's a point of order. What's your point of order?
In relation to the regulation, it doesn't call for a motion, but that would still require if the council had so sought it. Now, as a councillor, I'll be seeking that in accordance with the regulation. And whether the General Manager wishes to get legal advice in relation to that, I certainly welcome that. But I would still believe that the council has an obligation to review that.
Sorry, Councillor Adams, you did seek it because you had the foreshadowed motion.
That's
Yeah.
right. Now I'm seeking it as in relation to the regulation.
Well, then you need to put it to the next meeting.
I don't
That's right,
believe
correct?
so. I can request
Yeah.
it from council
The matter's
without
been
much.
decided.
Yeah, the matter's been decided. You'll have to put it to the next meeting if you wish to. Right. Confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary council meeting, the 14th of April 2025.
I'll move that.
Councillor Adams is moving,
Recommendation.
Councillor Archer is seconding. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion's carried. The date of the next council meeting is 5 p.m. on Monday, the 23rd of June. Now, I need to ask the Deputy Mayor to come and sit with you.
It's 5:30, we need to
Oh.
go to planning.
Okay, we'll go straight to planning. Come on.
Question time. and-
Yeah, public question. I'll just go to. Okay, it's public question and statement time. This is the time when members of the public can actually ask questions or make statements about something that's not related to a planning item. If there's a group of people with one particular topic in mind, I see quite a few people here, 2 people can speak before whatever you wish, whatever the item is, and 2 can speak against. So that's if a lot of people want to speak about the same thing. So are there any members of the public who wish to ask a question or make a statement? Sorry.
Oh, yeah, before you,
Yes.
just point of clarification. If there's,
So, excuse me.
if there's no one against it, can 4 people speak? Like you just
If
said,
you wish, if that's what you would like to have happen? If councillors are happy with that?
I'm happy if there's no one against whatever the
There's no one
topic
against it?
is. To have 2 extra speakers speaking.
Do we need to do a motion for that, or?
Do we need a motion for that? Or we can just agree?
That's if we don't know.
We can just agree, we can agree.
Yes.
But members of the public need to be mindful that they're not speaking. So if 4 people want to speak on a topic, that's fine. Okay, so now I just need you've got 3 minutes.
Can we let that gentleman speak first?
Yes, that's fine, yes. Yeah, and you just need to state your name and the town you live in. And you've got 3 minutes to speak.
Would you like to go first, Zoe?
Yeah, I want to speak about the charging stations on the village green.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
And you just state your name and the town you live in.
My name's Charles Burman, Burman. I live in Littleton Street.
That's fine. Thank you.
I'm going to read this out because I've made notes and I want to make sure I get everything straight. And I've got 3 items to mention. The village green is the venue for a great variety of community events and celebrations throughout the year. And not forgetting the library. Parking in the street then becomes so crowded that it interferes with residents' access to their own homes. Parking overflows into the rest of the town on these occasions. On a weekly basis, parents picking up children from school, buses, weekend visitors, sporting clubs, etc., fill all the diagonal parking, often leaving only 1 lane for 2-way traffic at times. It's a very narrow street and it's getting even more condensed because of traffic on 2 sides and a very narrow middle.
Can I just make it really clear which actual street you're speaking about?
I'm talking about Littleton Street,
Littleton Street, yes? Yes.
along the side of the village green from the library. These conditions apply regularly, if not daily. The proponent has not taken into account the traffic flow into and out of the water treatment plant and an Ollie farm. Traffic involving the movement of liquid gases, chemicals in very long and large tankers, articulated heavy vehicles, low loaders with earth-moving equipment and stock trucks on a regular basis. These vehicles use up and take up all the space they need to manoeuvre into and out of the single lane into the street. So we're talking about vehicles coming down the waterworks lane into the street. They actually cross right across the road. It means the full width of Littleton Street opposite the abandoned number 8, which was mentioned in that proposal. To consider Littleton Street as a suitable place for a car charging battery is unthinkable.
It is neither safe nor necessary. Littleton Street is a very unsafe place for these days because of the amount of traffic that's degenerated not only by people coming in there for the village green and other things and recreation, it's also a big, the new memorial hall actually is bringing in even more people and it's getting very heavily congested. There are times when there is nothing in the street, very little. And obviously the person who took the photographs for this proposal was in a time when there wasn't much traffic. But there are other times it is heavily congested and it's actually dangerous when it is like that because there's very little room between two vehicles passing one another. And there is a safety issue here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on that same topic? Annette.
Annette Alsey, Longford. I wish to speak to you regarding the proposed EV charging station on our village green opposite number 8 Littleton Street. I'm not opposed to an EV charging station on Longford and understand this infrastructure is important to ensure our town can provide this facility for visitors and residents alike. However, there are several reasons why the current proposed location on our village green is inappropriate and raises many concerns, including safety issues. The first and most obvious is that the village green is open public space within the important heritage precinct with nearby heritage buildings of national significance. The chargers, which have a similar appearance to petrol bowsers, along with the required electrical cabinet, are completely inappropriate in this location. It is high time we respected our town's heritage and the importance of unhindered green open space for mental and physical health and well-being. Littleton Street is already a busy area with frequent pedestrian presence, including the elderly and families with small children visiting the Memorial Hall, Library and Village Green. Adding further traffic flow with this charging station raises safety concerns. At times, parking within the vicinity of the aforementioned facilities can have a shortfall. The initial charger will permanently remove 2 spaces, with a second charger already flagged, taking the loss of parking spaces to 4 and perhaps more in the future. An electric vehicle towing caravan, of which there are at least 4 EV models already available, will have to park parallel to the curb to charge, taking up a minimum of 5 parking spaces, which is not acceptable, and it is highly likely may not be possible as the adjoining spaces may already be in use. Large semi-trailer tankers carrying liquid gas and chlorine frequently travel down Littleton Street to the Tas Water Treatment Facility. These trucks must utilise the parking area opposite the Tas Water driveway to both enter and exit the site. These are highly flammable chemicals. The increased risk of an accident within the vicinity of the EV charger is unacceptable, and if it were to occur, would prove catastrophic. There are other more suitable sites within Longford that must be considered. The Ampol service station at 25 Marlborough Street. Owner John Talbot is interested to install EV chargers at this site, and we should be supporting our existing businesses. This location would also bring much needed customers to the southern end of town. The Browns Hill Street shopping complex rear parking area. This type of location has proved highly successful at Westbury. The parking area opposite the Longford Bowling Club on Archer Street. This parking area is mostly unoccupied and conveniently located on the route to Longford Caravan Park and near the public toilets in St George's Square. To accept the request of a private entity to use our village green for profit is lazy planning at best. The very small amount of rental income council would receive for this site should have no influence on your decision. Council must accept the many flaws with this proposal, remove the village green as an option and investigate all other more appropriate locations within Longford. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on that particular topic?
So Sue-Ann Quans, I live in Middleton Street too. I would just like to add my voice and my to agree with the 2 previous speakers. Annette and I live in heritage homes that we proudly present to Longford as a backdrop to the beautiful park. We patiently waited for the community hall, and I love that it's busy with school children, and but it has increased immensely the busyness of that street, and I feel it would be it would just be so wrong to have an electrical station placed right near that memorial hall. So I just wanted to add my vote with that. Thank you.
Could I just confirm how to spell your surname?
Sure. C-O-R-N-E-S. Infinelli. Is that right?
Okay, is,
Yes, thank you.
now, any other members of the public who wish to make a statement or ask a question? Yes?
So I'm Leanne Peters from Campbelltown. So now that tenders have opened for the Campbelltown streetscape, I just have a couple of questions. When are the works due to begin? Do I just pose that now or?
Madam Mayor, we are not able to answer that now. Tenders only just opened. I mean, we haven't, sorry, they only opened for tenders to make applications. So once they're received by council and council makes a determination, a date may be set then.
So, okay, so there's a process after that. And do you know how the streetscape's going to be rolled out as far as the disruption to the street or the businesses? Is there a plan with that?
That's why Sarah was engaged. Sarah will be sitting down and working with the businesses and working with the contractor to ensure that disruption is as minimal as possible. We don't look at closing any business at all. There needs to be access to business when they're open and they require it.
Okay. And also, do you know how long it will take, roughly from the beginning when they start the works to?
I think the number on there, I think was even about 9 months, but that will be discussions again with the contractor, because obviously if they can get it done quicker, they obviously, their profits increase, if we put it that way.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak about Campbelltown in particular? No, that's fine. Okay. Sorry. Yes.
Thank you. Can I just comment
Your
first?
name and where you live.
Dave Kramer, I'm in Campbelltown and a business owner in Campbelltown as well. The 9-month estimate for doing the work, if we break the streetscape up into the 2 separate blocks, so from the town hall to the park and then from the park to the IGA, and if we break each side of the street in half, that gives us 8 sections. There's no way it can be done in 9 months. I think it's totally unrealistic. And the real issue, what we want to know is not, will a person be able to walk to our business? Will they be able to park anywhere near our business while all this is going on? So if each side of the street's divided in half and 1 section at a time is done, that would create the minimal amount of disruption. If we say dig up from the town hall to the park on 1 side of the street, that's half that block gone. Will this be taken into consideration?
Yes, Madam Mayor, the actual successful tenderer will need to sit down with the businesses and discuss the process with them and ensure there's a staging process.
So how does that happen? Is there like a thing at the town hall again where
they'll come and speak to you as individuals?
To each business.
Oh, okay. Yep. All right. If I can ask about the parking, currently there are, so if we again split it into 2 blocks, the block from the park down to IGA, I don't think has ever had white lines, so it's impossible to really count the parking spots. In the block from the town hall to the park, there are currently 35 parking spots. There were 36. We lost 1 because of the, can I call it the improvements at the corner of Queen Street? I think you know what I'm talking about. According to the plan, we are losing 2 spots in front of the library, which is becoming the bus stop. We're losing 2 more spots in front of the petrol station. I couldn't get a clear answer why, just because we're throwing them in the bin.
Excuse me, please be respectful.
Well, that is respectful
Please
because
be
that was the
respectful.
answer.
Make your comments, but they need to
That
be
was the
respectful.
answer, that we're just getting rid of them. We've got 2 spots in front of, is it Elizabeth Car Park? Is that what it's called? I think that's what it's called, opposite the town hall. So there's another 2 spots there. There's another one in front of my shop at 82. There's another spot going in front of Live Eat. We've got 12 spots coming out in front of the park with a possibility of a maximum of 4 going back in when we change parking from angle parking to straight parking. Lose another spot off that because the pedestrian crossing from Live Eat has to match up across the road. So we're going from 39 spots, we're losing about 18.
14. believe.
Yeah,
It's
about,
about
yes,
14.
Madam Mayor, there wasn't those, we're just losing car parks for the sake of losing car parks. I don't think there was any conversations of which I was involved in that suggested that. With regards to the access in and out of the petrol station, that was for safety purposes. I think that was voiced to you on the day. With regards to directly in front of your business, I think the gentleman talking to you that day indicated we were working on putting the extra car park back into that site.
I got two different answers on that from him.
Well, no, I was there for part of that
The
discussion.
first
and-
part, not the second one.
Well, sorry, well, my understanding is that there's an extra park being put back into that location. With regards to the angle parking directly in front of the Valentine's Park, yes, regretfully we are losing a number of parks there, but that's for safety reasons to actually put in place parallel
But
parking.
we don't need to lose all the others.
Well, Madam Mayor, I've provided the answer to the question. Yeah.
Well, where it says,
We've had you 3 minutes, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mayor,
I'm sorry.
he-
Everyone gets 3 minutes.
yeah, but he was interrupted by the general manager, so he couldn't finish his 3 minutes.
Before we've extended out.
Can I move that we allow Mr Kramer another, I think it's 3 minutes to allow him to finish his statement?
Motion, all those in favour? Against, carried. Right, you have no 3 minutes. Please be respectful.
it really feels like we are not being listened to. That's how it feels. We're all saying the same thing, the parking, the parking, the parking. How many parking spots have we saved? None. We haven't saved a single parking spot. So why are we not being listened to?
The community safety is of paramount importance to us, and that is why this project is occurring.
Well, if you look at the bit where you tell us the benefits of under the section, what are the benefits of this project? The last line, increase business activity and economic growth for businesses within the town centre. How does removing nearly 50% of parking in the main block where most of the food shops are, how does that benefit us? People don't want to park around the corner and walk around because probably 80% of the traffic during the week is workers or people going to meetings, and they just want to stop, grab whatever and go. And we're taking out nearly 50% of the parking. How is this going to benefit the businesses?
I'm very sorry, but a parking around the corner is what we will be providing. And for some around Queen Street in particular, that's no further than walking across the road.
So we're not being listened to. And my question is why?
Well, Madam Mayor, you have been listened to. Council's made some, the changes have been made where they could be. Safety is still the main issue with regards to the angle parking, and regretfully, that's where a large number of the car parks are being lost from. So that's a safety improvement there. Council is also providing additional car parking off the side streets, which we need to consult the
But
community.
those parking spots have existed for 100 years. They're not new.
Not all of them. Well, as you've indicated, line marking could make a difference down the main street as well with regards to further down the main street to clearly identify where cars
Will
should
that be
parked.
real paint or will that be the blow-on stickers that were done a couple of years ago that within a week are...
It will be whatever State Growth let us do. It's State Growth Road.
My understanding, Madam Mayor, that would be paint on, and that's where it should be something. It should be something that lasts a period of time, definitely.
Good. Is there any chance that we can please, I know it's probably not mentioned in the thing, all the driveways along there, is there any chance we can please get the yellow line? Can we at least get that as a win?
I think that's definitely something we could look at and we could discuss with the businesses.
People parking across driveways, I know the lolly shop have a nightmare with it. It happens to us daily. We really, and I would suggest that for the whole length, just, a little bit of yellow paint. It's not expensive and would really...
I've made a note of that, definitely.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there any other members of the community who wish to speak?
Right. Jane Yates from Campbelltown. Just a question about the legislation issues, and I would like to say too that purely from the community's perspective, that is the key for transparency. So my question is what do you use different legal counsel for different parts of the legislation, or do you have one legal counsel company or business that you receive your advice from with regard to things like whether it's correct or not, or like correct advice, that anything that's discussed in the meetings should be in the minutes? There seems to be quite a deliberation, and you know that, Mr. Jennings, that I've communicated with you in correspondence with this. So I've sought advice, I have received advice, and it is like opposite to what you've been saying, more or less. So who is the company, or can you reveal or let me know who the legal counsel is that you received that advice from, because it does seem to be incorrect.
Well, that's obviously someone that's providing you that advice, and I'm happy to receive your advice and get that checked.
No, I'm talking about the advice you've received.
No, I'm talking about yours, sorry.
No, but I'm asking the question.
Well, we take ours as correct. We've asked the question twice now, and we got the same answer twice.
From the same legal counsel?
Different individuals within that council. If you have different legal advice, which I offer to other people, because we get individuals on many occasions coming to us indicating they have something different or advice they've received different to what we have, I'm happy to have that checked.
So you believe that the advice you've got is correct?
Yes.
Whereas I'm actually sort of suggesting that it's actually
And
incorrect.
and that's your prerogative.
But there wouldn't be a disagreement within the council about this either. Everyone would be agreeable. So why are they not agreeable?
Because the regulations weren't.
I'm sorry, I've got to abide by the legislation, and that's why I put it forward twice. It's not a matter of whether Mr. Jennings likes it or not, and that's just me making that comment. It's a matter of fact, it's in the legislation, and I'm required to abide by that. And I've sought advice, and I've been given that advice, and I need to abide by that.
But what I'm saying, Mr. Jennings, is that it's quite.
Sorry,
it's easy to interpret from in black and white in the legislation, even for a layperson like me. It says that everything that is discussed in the meetings, especially when it's a motion that has been carried, whether it's deemed to be invalid or not later, it should still be in the minutes. This is coming from the community for transparency reasons, which you should understand, more than just understand that the community wants it to be completely transparent.
I'm sorry, I'm bound by the legislation. I have no ability.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, and then council then also is bound by that as well. We need to operate under legislation.
Exactly.
The 3 minutes is up now. Sorry. Thank you. Is there anybody else from the community who wishes to make a statement?
Is that Madam Mayor, General Manager and councillors?
No, state your name and where you reside.
Look, I've placed in front of each of the councillors, yourself and the GM, details of Longford Motor Racing Association, which a lot of people here wouldn't be aware of. It's past history, unfortunately. But it came to pass, I was asked by the Ulysses RV Club to speak at their annual conference here this year at Longford. They asked in particular to speak on Longford Motor Racing. And in doing so, I looked for a venue, and Rob Nott and John Talbot have the museum here at Longford. And I discovered to my horror that it's either going on market or broken up or be sold or moved. I think that would be an absolute disgrace. You can see by the information I've placed pretty how important Longford was. The Northern Midlands have history going back infinitum. Old history, old homes, horse racing, numerous things people come to see. The motor racing at Longford, it was incredible. It was an international attraction. Back in 1955, for example, it attracted 25,000 a day to the meeting. It was the biggest single sports meeting in Tasmanian history, probably still is. In the latter years, it got to well over 40,000 a day, which hasn't happened since for anything. And here we are, they come from other parts of history, but Longford motor racing was history, international history. We had every world champion in the 60s race at Longford, every single one of them. There were records set at Longford, nearly 200 kilometres an hour back in those days, back in the 53 to 68. And here we are, it could disappear from the town. The Motor Racing Museum, it hosts, apart from other things looking at it, It has cars such as the Bob Jane Jag. It's a replica Jag. The original Jag went back to the Janes. That was the most successful racing Jag in Australian history. It had the Mick Watt Special. That, again, was the highest rated car in Tasmania. 107 wins, 40 seconds and 13 thirds. That will never be beaten. Lotus Cortina, there was two of those, raced by local boys, John Dix and Robin Bessett, and also by Alan Moffat, Canadian, who raced extremely successfully in Australia. It has the fastest VW in the world up here in the street. It has FX Holden raced at Longford, had Gene Cook's car, Fiat raced at Longford. Numerous cars like are there, but will be lost to all us. The motor racing actually, you find people such as Gene Cook, for example, a local boy raced here very successfully. He raced a Ford Custom Line, a Fiat 1500. He raced Bruno Grossi's ex-Bob Jane Jag. He went on to race all over Australia, an Australian champion. Things such as John Ewell and his brother from down at Simmons Plains actually formed Simmons Plains. Simmons Plains took over from Longford Motor Racing when Longford shut down.
We've got less than half a minute left.
I applaud, appeal to you people to read what I put in front of you, and I suggest that you investigate and assist in retaining and expanding the Museum of Longford as a tourist business, because it's desperately needed. If we lose it forever. But please read what's in front of you and think about it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cairns. Is there any other member of the community who wishes to speak or ask a question about anything that's not related to our planning item? Yes?
Andrew Perkins from Campbelltown. I would like to speak on the streetscape in Campbelltown. I've heard the General Manager talk about the removal of parking spots and the alterations to the streetscape being mostly motivated by safety concerns. And I fail to see how moving the parked cars from where they are now out to the edge of the road is going to improve pedestrian safety or driver safety in any way whatsoever. Now, when you get out of a car, especially elderly people, they have time to open the door, get out of the car and cross the road. With the cars on the edge of the road, how do they do that with the constant stream of traffic coming past them? The removal of the angle parking in front of Valentine's Park. I was born on Campbelltown and I have never seen an accident in that area, not one. The pedestrian crossings now, people have the opportunity to walk out to the edge of the road lane, cross the road to the centre, cross the road to the other side I don't see how putting pedestrian crossings in and narrowing that road is going to make it any safer. Now, when cars need to pull off into a parking spot, they have the space to pull over, wait for a car to exit and enter the parking spot, and traffic can still pass. With the road being narrowed, somebody's waiting to turn into a parking spot or into a side street, the whole road's blocked. I fail to see how this streetscape is going to be any benefit to anybody in the main street of Campbelltown or anybody in the town that actually lives there. And I'm pretty disappointed in the lack of information, consultation and the inability for councillors to listen to the opinion of the people who actually live on the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there any other members? Are there any other members of the public who wish to make statements?
Derek Porter from Campbelltown.
Is this about the streetscape?
Yes.
We've already had 4 speakers about the streetscape. I'm sorry. Is there any other topic that anyone wishes to speak about? Okay, we'll move into planning. Need a motion here that the council intends to act as a planning authority under the Land Use Planning Approvals Act 1993. Councillor Adams and Councillor Andrews. Thank you. Good night. Travel safely. Councillor Adams and Councillor Andrews moved and seconded. I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Are there any members of the community who wish to speak about the planning item? Planning. We want to have a discussion now out there. Yeah, are there any members of the community who wish to speak about the planning item, which is alterations and additions to existing dwelling, new carport and garage, 24A Russell Street, Evandale? No? Okay, all right, we'll move into, that's the only planning item. So planning 1 is alterations and additions to the existing dwelling and a new carport and garage at 24A Russell Street, Evandale. There is a recommendation there by the planner that application, the planning 240189 to develop and use the land at 24A Russell Street, Evandale for alterations and additions to the existing dwelling and a new carport and garage be approved subject to the following conditions. I'm not going to read out all the conditions. Have a mover and a seconder. Councillor McCullough, you're moving. And Councillor Adams is seconding. Councillor McCullough, do you wish to speak to
I'll just say that we spoke about this earlier. I don't think there's a need to generalise that into the public arena. We can do, but I think it's fairly straightforward and support the recommendation.
Do you wish to speak, Councillor Adams?
Oh, well, I think, the planner seems to think that this will work, and it's a bit tough on one or 2 points, but it seems to be that someone can get organised. I don't think there's any real problems with the water, and I think it will flow okay.
Any further discussion? Councillor Archer.
Just one question. There was something in the representors about the fence height or something like that, about raising the land was going to mean that the fence height, is there a chance? Is there something in regards to that?
And that was because the land was being raised.
In relation to the privacy?
Privacy, yes.
Yes, so the land will be being raised as it shows in the elevations. When it comes to privacy considerations, if there is any development within within 3 metres of a boundary in the general residential zone, if the difference in the ground is less than 1 metre, it's deemed as being reasonable. And the levels that were shown on the elevation from natural ground to where it will be finished fill is, I think, between 700 or 800 mil. It was less than a metre. Yeah.
Any further discussion? I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. That's the only item. We need to move out of planning now. Councillor Adams and Councillor Lambert. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. So we'll go back. Where were we up to? Oh, yes, I needed to step out, yes. Hang on a second. I'm just looking for it. It's questions.
5.3.
5.4, yeah. 5.4, yep.
What you were reading. 5.4, councillor questions on notice. There were 3 questions submitted by Councillor Terrett. The questions are there and the answers are there. I don't need to read them out. I think they're self-explanatory. We don't need to receive them, do we? No, just need to.
Questions and answers there.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. 5. Council committees, confirmation of minutes. There's a recommendation that we accept the minutes of the council committees. Councillor Adams. And a seconder. Councillor Archer, sorry. Oh, good on you, thank you. Sorry. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Now, some of those committees have recommendations. The Campbelltown District Committee has a recommendation around the streetscape upgrade information session. Yes, I realise, yes, and the officer's recommendation, it notes that the session was conducted on May the 1st, so we don't really need a,
Well, I think you should.
we wish to have a motion on it?
For the minutes.
Okay,
I'll move it.
yes, councillor Adams and councillor Terrett. That's the streetscape. Cool. All those in favour? Against? Carried. They also have a recommendation around the play area at the Campbelltown Recreation Ground, and the officer's recommendation is that council notes the committee request and considers it for inclusion in future budgets or grant funding applications. Councillor Andrews and councillor Terrett. Any, all those in favour? Against? Carried. 7.3.1 Valentine's Park Play Equipment Upgrade. That's a request from the Campbelltown Committee. The officer's recommendation is that the council notes the recommendations and review in the playground budget for 24, 25, 26. Councillor Terrett and Councillor Adams. Thank you. I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Carried. They also have a recommendation around the public shower facilities in Campbelltown, and the officer's recommendation is that council assesses the viability and necessity of an additional public shower.
I'll move that. And councillor Terrell will second it. Oh, sorry.
No, councillor Lambert seconded.
Sorry, who moved?
Councillor Andrews moved and councillor Lambert seconded. 1, 2, 3, okay. And councillor Archer.
It says here in the officer comment, there's a public shower currently available at Campbelltown Recreation Grounds, so I'm not sure.
There's an additional share. Green. It's a request for
Well, I just think,
Yeah.
how many do we need to have? 4 or 5? I just think if it's proven that they do need to have 2, I mean, Longford's probably only got 1, I'm not sure, but I just think it's a fact that the officer has commented. And we'll obviously, I think as a council, make a decision how many public showers there should be in Campbelltown.
Can I just ask a question? Is that public shower in Campbelltown available 24/7?
Not 24/7, but it is there, yes. Yeah, it's at the recreation ground.
Okay. Councillor Andrews?
And the motion is just that the council assesses the viability and necessity of an additional public shower. We're not saying that it's going to happen, we're looking at the viability of.
Councillor Brooks?
Further to the mayor's question about the Campbelltown, the public shower at the recreation ground, can I ask the works manager, if it's not open 24/7, what are the hours of operation?
I think when the property's open, like when the business is open now.
What's that?
I'm not too sure. I'll have to ask the corporate service manager.
Well, it's only if you're talking about the club rooms, it's only open when it's bookings, so.
So it's not open, really, if that's the case. So is that correct then, the officer's comment?
No, Madam Mayor, it does exist there, and if it's not open, it can be made open when the facility's open. And it's normally always open when the pool's open, definitely, but during other periods it can be open as well. If it's not already open, can be open during the when the facility's hired. And that facility is substantially hired Monday to Friday and on the
What I'm
weekend.
saying is that comment misleading? Because it sort of insinuates that there's a shower already at the recreation ground. That's what I'm actually saying. Is it misleading just to say that we don't really need one because there's one recreation ground?
Works manager.
That's where we were when we had a meeting on our bus tour, standing outside that door. That is the external showers. They're actually separate from the rest of the building. So if you wanted to open it up more, way could well and truly be.
Councillor Goss, you're next.
And the question's been answered.
Right. Councillor Lambert?
Just in regard to this, I think the officer's comment leads to the question that the committee has asked. They obviously aren't aware that there's a public facility available, when it's available, how long it's available for. And that leads me to question, how do we advertise this for the public? You know, if this is a public shower facility, how do people know about it and find out about it, and how do they go about accessing it to use it? I think I think the committee's done a really good thing here because they've actually opened, well, I won't say Pandora's box, but they've opened the comments and the questions about what is going on in regard to public facilities and public showers, and how do people access them. Now, I know we are in the middle of doing some, we're looking at a report supposed to be coming back, and it hasn't come back yet in regard to looking at our public facilities in regard to showers and toilets and accessibility. And there was also within that looking at whether it was viable or not for a mobile van to go around the community, because we do have smaller communities that may not have these. That report's yet to come back, and I'm really keen to see that report come back, because that will help some of our communities to be able to have these questions answered in a report, so we can then look at how we move forward as a council and as communities working on how we're going to address these issues, because clearly there is a lack of communication and information in regard to this Campbelltown facility, and how do we address that in terms of communicating better to people to be able
Maybe
to
when
access
the report does come back, it could be that I could suggest that the people who are in camper vans and so forth and need to get a permit to camp in the free camping spaces, that's on the website. Maybe something similar. And
sometimes, Mayor,
they know
with
that's
respect,
available.
if you're homeless, you may not have access to a website, but you may need access to a shower facility. So I'm really, perhaps what I really want to know is, when are we likely to get that report back so we can answer some of these questions and put some processes in place to support our vulnerable people in our community?
Well, Madam Mayor, I can't give a date at this stage. We've got a number of reports sitting on a workshop agenda. If we work our way through those, obviously we'll target we're working our way through the outstanding ones, because there is a couple there that are outstanding and they need to be progressed.
Councillor Adams.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, in Longford, we use Helping Hand and others that are our groups that look after people that need help. And there is one person sleeping rough in Longford. He was up behind the Anglican Church, but he's now moved down in another spot. He's moved to another spot. I don't know what circumstances are in Campbelltown, but I would hope that there's an op shop there, and there's opportunities for people to work through those sort of processes. I don't want half of Hobart having a shower on the way through, though. That's they're liable to take advantage of the Northern Midlands Council's free shower. So you need to have a process to work on. But we have showers there at the facility. And, it's just a matter of having the process of who has access to them. So the charity group or whoever's in Campbelltown has an identification. We should give them the opportunity, maybe.
I'm sorry, but you've already spoken. Councillor Andrews.
I don't think so.
Oh, well, maybe, sorry, beg your pardon if you haven't. I've got you on my list.
Just a solution to, short-term solution to Councillor Lambert's concern. Can't we just put a sign up saying there's a public shower available close to where it is? We could probably do that tomorrow.
Madam Mayor, there's more than that involved. There's obviously the issue with regards to cleaning, someone being there to make sure it's open and being closed. We'll look into that and see what we can do to make sure it's made available in an appropriate manner.
Okay, I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Campbelltown also have a recommendation around footpaths south of Red Bridge, and the officer's recommendation is that council notes the committee's request and investigates further. Councillor Goss, you're moving that?
I'll move the recommendation.
Yes,
I'd like
and
to
Councillor
speak to
Terrett,
it.
you're seconding?
Yeah.
Your hand up first. Councillor Terrett, any discussion? Councillor Goss.
Yeah, just one thing about the Red Bridge area, that Campbelltown's already got 2 footbridges, one in Bridge Street, which goes across to Tragedy Hill, and the other one in Blackburn Park, which goes across to, can I say, the eastern end of the river. So they've got 2 footbridges, and those areas have got, I know on the Blackburn parking, I've been along that, that's fairly well paved and that type of stuff and good track to walk on. I'm not sure about over the road, the track going to Tragedy Hill, but there's sort of two direct paths that people have. The ones that use the Tragedy Hill entrance, they're usually going to the school up Bridge Street and straight to the school. The ones that use the Blackburn Park footbridge, they go into the town and do the shopping. I'm just what I'm a bit concerned about is having another footpath over the Red Bridge. I'm not sure if it's got walkable areas going over the Red Bridge, whether it's wide enough to have footpaths going across there and that kind of stuff. So I just think we need to, when we do the investigation, we need to include those, the footbridge on Bridge Street and the footbridge park over Blackburn Park.
I'd just like to make a query though. I don't believe they're asking for another footbridge. They just want footpaths on the other side, on the southern side.
Well, so I assume they want to connect up to the main street. That's what I think they want to do.
Councillor Andrews.
Yes, just supporting your comments. Mayor, this is from the Red Bridge to New Street, and I know there's a lot of concern in Campbelltown that that end of the town over the Red Bridge away from town haven't got footpaths, and so they're just trying to get some footpaths down that end of the town for people with pushers and on walking frames and all that sort of thing. So it's from the bridge onwards. It's not necessarily another footpath across the bridge.
Okay, I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Avondale District Committee, they have a recommendation about Pioneer Park, the master plan information session. Officer's recommendation is that council notes the committee's request for an information session and will provide a timeline and information session once the project has secured funding. Councillor Terrick, you're moving there? And Councillor Lambert seconded. Any discussion? Councillor Terrick.
Discussion is in relation to secured funding. We may never receive funding. We're totally dependent on a grant. It's always nice to be shovel ready for these. So if we have fortunate, we have another election of what he saw, we can at least put our hand up for this type of project. And I think having a consultation, and we've already seen tonight, the need for consultation is giving people input early and just saying we've got this, people know about it, we can put it up in the community hall, etc. Maybe we should just proceed with it and then cross our fingers a little bit. I don't want to spend a lot of money into that till we get funding, but I think getting the project with an aspiration is a good way of going and keeping the community with us, rather than 2 or 3 years of time saying, oh yeah, by the way, we have a Pioneer Park and let's start consulting now.
Trouble is, in 2 years' time, it might take 2 or 3 years to get the funding, which is what's happened with streetscapes.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, we have consulted the committee, the plans have been finalised. Funding might not come about for 1 year, 2 years or 3 years. When it comes about, what we're saying is we'll sit down with the group then and discuss what's being proposed, and there still may be some amendments. I think all we're recommending is that we know we've got a funding stream and we can have those further discussions. But again, we can go out again, but that comes at a cost.
Councillor McCullough.
Why wouldn't we just do it the other way if we've got time on our side? Why wouldn't we just go and talk to the people and get the recommendations and actually get a plan that everybody's happy with?
That's what the general manager was suggesting. We've done that.
Plans are done, locked away, and then we're going to go back and change them. But like Campbelltown, nothing much changes. So
sorry, Madam
I'm asking why we don't go back and just put the horse before the cart instead of the cart before the horse.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, the community was consulted, and that's how the plan we came about the plan after going through that process. The committee here is asking for a follow-up meeting. We wouldn't see as officers that we'd be looking at making any amendments to the plans at this stage. That comes at an additional cost at this time, and we've got no funds available. We usually do not go change our master plans once they've been agreed to by council, because it comes at another cost to change those again. But again, as I've indicated, happy to go to the committee if you so desire, but that comes at a cost, because we obviously would have the consultant that did the attend as well, and suddenly the costs start to escalate, which would be better spent elsewhere, and perhaps even on the site itself.
Councillor Terrick. Councillor Terrick, you're summing up.
Just a question, actually. Question to the General Manager, whether it's possible to get the project manager just to go along to the next Avondale District Committee and just kind of give them a bit of where we're up to with it. There is a few expectations that it's going to be done shortly, but giving where our where we are at the moment and what changes have taken place so we can address those expectations in the committee as well, if that's possible.
Yeah, I think, yeah, Madam Mayor, yes, there can be definitely some sharing of information, definitely.
Okay, I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Evandale also have a recommendation around the irrigation system maintenance in Pioneer Park, and the officer's recommendation, the council notes the recommendations and refers the request to the Works and Infrastructure Department. Councillor Terry. Councillor Lambert. Any discussion?
I'd
Councillor Archer.
just like to say, obviously, yes, past work done in planting trees should be supported. I mean, obviously, they say here that trees are only watered for the first 2 years of planting. Well, I'd like to think they've watered until they can survive long term. Obviously, we don't necessarily want the whole thing lush and green and have to be mown every second day, but I think from my experience at the bus tour that yes, there could be some upgrades there, maybe not necessarily reliant on more funding, but just through a council budget at some stage.
I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Other committee recommendations, the Devon Hills Neighbourhood Watch and Residents Committee, they have a recommendation around line marking at Devon Hills, and the officer's recommendation is that council note the recommendation and forward this issue to the Works Department. Councillor Lambert.
Second.
And Councillor Terrett.
Can I just ask
You
a
can
question?
speak, yes.
This has been ongoing for quite some time now, and I know the community were hoping that this would have been addressed before winter. They're concerned about fog, people not staying on the right side of the road and potential accidents. Do we have any firm timelines?
I'm sorry, all the line marking people are running over state growth at the moment, doing all their work. If you've seen them in the main street along the other day, trying to get the same company while they were here to do ours. Not interested in our small amount of work. The holding lines in Devon Hills will be completed maybe this Friday, weather permitting. Only the holding lines, not the centre lines. So centre lines are still out there to be completed.
So
Just
a
waiting
little
on
bit of
that.
progress, but not.
Centre line, but it is a 60k road, so hopefully we'll get through.
Well.
And you had your hand up, Councillor Terrett. Okay, right. I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Information items. Can I have a mover and a seconder to accept them? Councillor Andrews and Councillor Adams. Any questions from anybody? No questions? Okay, I'll put the recommendation. No one's got any questions? Recommendation, all those in favour? Against? Carried. One problem, question time. Yeah, we're at I'm up to page 59 now. Okay. 13, Development Services Reports, that monthly report. The recommendation is that the report be noted, but you've got the opportunity to make questions if you wish. Councillor Adams is moving and Councillor Terrett is seconding. Are there any questions?
What page is it on?
Page 60 in the on the computer.
60, 61.
Is it? Sometimes it's not. Yeah, page 60. No questions about the monthly report? Councillor Andrews.
There's a question of the Corporate Services Manager, just noting the planning approvals and the building approvals. They're quite significantly different to this time last year. Should we be concerned about that, or was last year just a bumper year for development applications and planning applications? So if we look at the bottom of page 63, building approvals, there's a bit of a difference between this time this year and the same time last year. And then if we go over to value of planning approvals on 62, there's quite a difference between now and this time last year. Does that reflect that last year was just a bumpy year, or what?
Probably reflects the market.
That's what I want. That's what I wanted.
Very much a bit of that, and I think you'll find that we, well, I myself have observed that we have a lot more no permit required assessments that don't, technically they don't need
No
approval.
representation.
So they're not technically applications, so they don't get given a number to be permitted or discretionary, which is what shows here. So I think we've had a lot more compliant developments as well.
We don't get to claim them.
No.
Only three, isn't it? Only three.
Yeah, no, I was looking more at 62.
All right, I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Carried. 14.1 is a proposed electric vehicle station at Longford. There is a recommendation there. I will read it out. The council notes the proposal from Energy ROI to install electric vehicle chargers at Littleton Street, Longford, as supported through the Tasmanian Government's Smart Charge 3 electric vehicle charging grants program, and supports the proposal in principle, subject to the outcome of community consultation. And C, authorises the General Manager to undertake public consultation on the proposal at the cost of Energy ROI, including referral to the Longford Local District Committee for comment, and D, receives a further report following completion of the consultation process for consideration of landowner consent and lease arrangements. Councillor Adams, you're happy to move that?
Yeah.
It's a seconder for that one.
Point of clarification, what are you actually moving there, councillor Adams? You're moving them the whole lot?
The whole lot.
A, B, C and D?
Yes.
No, I couldn't support it.
Yeah, the whole lot. It's only for putting consultation out to the community to find out if they support it. And we've heard tonight that they may not there.
Forward, yeah.
Can I ask a question of the mover? Whether he,
Just limited to that, it's a little bit more convoluted than that.
can I ask a question of the mover? Whether he'd be prepared to add in and investigate alternative sites?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's what
Because I think that's what's clearly come from our community today, before the community consultation.
If the mover is happy with that, I need a seconder then. Oh, Councillor Lambert, I'll put, yep. So that's to add in an E.
Yeah, investigation alternative sites.
Well,
Got that?
And bring that back as part of the report, I think probably needs to go in there as well.
Yep, yep. Yep. Okay, Councillor Adams, do you wish to speak to it?
Only I believe that every town will have these charges as we go on, and towns without them will probably be a bit off the map. So I think it's important that we strive to have one. Whereabouts it is, I said we do it through consultation.
Councillor Lambert.
We do it through consultation and talking to our community. But I think it's very important that we achieve an outcome of having one in our town.
Lead Councillor Lambert seconded. Councillor Lambert, do you wish to speak?
Yes, I do. I'd like to, first of all, to thank those people from the community who came and put representations forward this evening. I think that's really important, and I think that helped to shape some of our thoughts tonight. I think there's no, I agree with what Councillor Adams says, there's no doubt this is the way of the future, this is the way we're going, and it's great to be able to see Longford being included in that process of rolling out EV chargers. But we do need to make sure, and I think that the motion covers it, that we absolutely consult with our community, more so than what we've done tonight, more thoroughly, and that we encourage Energy ROI to look for other alternative sites. Given the fact that we've had quite a bit of opposition here tonight, I think that would be a wise thing for them to perhaps consider. But I do agree that we need to have EV charging stations in Longford and in our other towns as well to ensure that Perth, I know Campbelltown's got them, but Ross is in the process of getting one. Cressy and lots of our towns, Avoca even, I think really we need to be considering how we can attract people to our towns, and one way of doing that is by having an EV charger. So people come out for the day, bring their cars and charge them. So I think very smart move for us to be able to be putting these in our communities, and I look forward to that consultation and to see what comes out from the community's perspective as well and their thoughts on the matter, because that's really important.
Councillor Brooks.
Yeah, and I think the place for these things, if you look around Tasmania, most of them are like at supermarkets. You know, we've heard tonight where there's been some good suggestions of where we should have these things. You know, the IGA is the perfect place on Longford to have these charges. It's out of the way. It actually supports those businesses in the IGA as well. You know, you go and put your car on the charger and you go and do your groceries or have a coffee while it's charging. It just makes sense to have it down Littleton Street. What is there for those people to do while the car's on charge? Not very much, only go to the toilet. And they're not going to be playing on the play equipment. So I think the IGA or somewhere down around that area would be the perfect place to put these EV chargers. So I think going back to to investigate other sites is a really important part of the motion. I wouldn't have supported it other than when that E come in there. So let's hope that we get a report back with some really good alternatives for it, and let's give it some thought and put the charges where it means that the people that are using them can do something, not just put it at the hall because it's a convenient place or for someone just to park, you know.
Councillor Terrett.
Well, I think Councillor Lambert raised a very good point. That's whilst this it is inevitable that we will get EV bays and stations, they've got to be at the right spot. And where we have communities come to us, such as the Avondale community has come to us for an EV charging unit, we should engage and maybe use this as a bit of our leverage to get one for over there as well. Certainly it's a tourist mecca, and we get a lot of people with RV, EV vehicles going to Avondale. We've got to think very carefully because we don't get a lot of income from these. We provide the land and they get the money. And we've got to be very conscious of getting the rent back. This is a community asset we're allowing them to use. We don't put petrol bumps on the corners, and if we did, we'd have to get some rent. So I think if we get some compensation in relation to that, it's also very wise for us, and getting them in the right location is certainly a very important aspect of this.
Councillor McCullough.
Yeah, I'm fully supportive of looking around the town. So finicky I am that I'd like to take out just Littleton Street if that's okay with the mover.
Sorry, say that again.
I'd like to take out the words Littleton Street if that's okay with the mover, and look around the town wholeheartedly so that we don't have any preconceptions or preconceived ideas when we go back to them to install these things. I think they're definitely for the future. I think Littleton Street's not the site it should be just got rid of at this point in time, and they should be looking around the town. I think the suggestion of the supermarket that Councillor Brooks done is a outstanding idea as one location.
Well, I
comment. My understanding is that we did approach the district committee. The district committee were involved in discussions in identifying a site. There was also discussions held with the IGA because it was thought that'd be an ideal location, but the advice I got, they were not interested in having it on their site. So it's been written in such a way that what's been added allows us to do a full investigation. The funding stream that's been identified allows for the opportunity on that road, but it doesn't mean that that's going to be the final location. Council will make that determination in the future.
I think that the district
You've already
committee,
spoken, Councillor Brooks, I'm sorry.
Well, I was just pointing clarification. I was clarifying what the General Manager said. The district committee, I don't think, could nail down someone in IGA that was up high enough to actually make a decision.
I can only go by what I was advised, Councillor. But It's here for council to make a decision.
The sentiment around the table and around the public already is that Littleton Street's not the place for it. I'm just simply saying, can we take those two words out?
We'll make it clear, this is not nailing it down to
I'm not saying it is, but you're actually,
Excuse me, we're moving on now. Councillor Archer.
I think with the electric charging stations, council needs to have a policy on whether they want the max set on council land or not, because we're otherwise going to have this discussion in every town in the municipality. Ideally, all these services are provided by the private enterprises, which have to go through planning procedures. If the IGA want to put one on there and think it is, they'd come to us with a proposal. I think the situation is that no one really wants council land used where people are going to be affected. I think, obviously, I agree with Councillor McCullough, perhaps it would be better off to remove Littleton Street from the motion, but in regards to that, they're talking about the proposal from ROI, so perhaps it should stay in there. As far as I'm concerned, the motion means that we are going to have a very good look at other options in Longford, but I would like to say we need to have a policy in council on the use of public land for these kind of things. As Councillor Terrett says, you're not putting petrol stations on council land, so why should we do it with electric charges?
Councillor Goss, you're the only one who hasn't spoken.
Yeah, no, I don't support being in the place in Littleton Street that was suggested. I don't think that the parking should be taken up near the Memorial Hall. I think that would be very problematic when things are happening on the park arena, in the area. Also, it's probably going to grow. You know, they've got 2 and then 4, then they're going to have 8. I mean, we know how many electric cars are out there. 2 chargers is not going to cut it. So we know that's going to get bigger and bigger. So we need a spot where it can grow. Would be better if it was on private land somewhere, as suggested, and it was a commercial entity, not on council ground. And maybe we do need a policy on what we're going to do on council ground. That's probably something we need to do. I think that I don't think Littleton Street will work at all. I didn't drive around last night. It was dark. I couldn't find near the hall. I couldn't find a stable parking spot there. I mightn't have been light enough, but we probably haven't got one. I couldn't see it. So I'm saying it probably wasn't there, but I might have been mistaken. So that's something else that's not there. They need to be there. And we're talking about putting a private company putting charging cars. We need to, you know, make sure we look after the people that are using the hall and those kind of things first, and the facility, rather than some private entity which are going to turn it off.
Councillor Adams, do you wish to sum up?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Well, I reckon Littleton Street doesn't have much chance, but which is a bit of a concern. But I don't think we should take it out because the concept is the one that's been proposed is there, and we should. But there's plenty of scope there for us to look. But I think toilets are very important in these places, but also opportunities. But I think you know, in the IGA. You can charge, I suppose the pub isn't that far away, but when it closes, when there's nobody there, you know, and it's a closed, IGA is closed and all the shops are in there and the toilet's closed. So those are the sort of things that one should give consideration to, I think, and there's probably people with more knowledge than us. I understand these sites, some of them are profitable, more profitable than others, and some aren't very profitable at all. So people get caught up in those, but that's my limited knowledge. But I think this covers it now, and from our discussion, and let's hope we can find a decent spot.
Okay, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Carried. We are now up to page 71, the monthly financial statement. Ms. Brechtel, do you wish to make any comment?
No, there's nothing out of the ordinary this month.
Mover and a seconder that receive and note the monthly financial statement. Councillor Terrett, Councillor Adams. Any discussion or questions? I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Right, time for the closed meeting. So I need to ask all members of the public, it's time for you to go home. We haven't missed anything.